When we produce authentic work, we reach our audience. In my own experience in working with people, I have found the more we cultivate presence, the more we're able to be in the moment, the more we're authentic, we're confident, we're focused, and we're listening. And when we're present, we learn how to manage extremely active imaginations, which most creative, highly creative and artistic people for sure have. And we don't want to stifle the imagination. We want to redirect and focus it.
Here's the key to my front door. You got a pillow if you lost yours. You got a seat at my table. You got a here's somebody who believes you. Let truth remind you. You've always got a place to go to. You got a home.
Welcome to The Creator's Journey. I'm your host, Charles Gupton. In each show, I'll talk with creative leaders who face the same fears and obstacles we all face. What makes these folks effective are the processes they've developed that allow them to push through the darkness to consistently ship their work and make a difference. If you've ever felt that your fears and insecurities are getting the best of you, just know that you're not alone. Every creator who works from the heart faces the same challenges. I would love for you to join our community at thecreatorsjourney.com for ideas and inspiration that will bring light and direction to your journey.
Here's the key to my front door. You got a pillow if you lost yours. You got a seat at my table. You got a home. Here's somebody who believes you. Let truth remind you. You've always got a place to go to. You got a home.
I believe one of the most critical skills a creative leader needs to have these days is the ability to practice mindful presence. For all of my life, I've struggled with the ability to be in the moment with the people and/or the task that I have before me. And with the increasing distractions of technology and social media flicking the amygdala in our brains, it's amazing to me that any of us are getting anything meaningful done. For the last few years, I've practiced meditation and writing morning pages as part of my desire to quiet my mind and learn to be more present throughout the day. But I struggle greatly with having more hiccups in my attempts than significant success. As I talk with other creative leaders, I found that I'm not alone in my drive to achieve quietness of mind. Too frequently, we burn our most creative energy worried about past mistakes or anxious about future problems, rather than simply doing the task that's before us in the moment. So it's with great pleasure and expectation of profound illumination that I get to talk with Marissa Boisvert today about the process of focusing one's mind and attention on the practice of being present. Marissa is a behavior change specialist and a certified integrative health coach. Coming out of her training at Duke Integrative Medicine, as well as her experience as a professional dancer and yoga instructor, Marissa followed her curiosity to discover the link between mindful awareness and art. She found that in order to tap into your true creative potential, you must develop your self-awareness. Through her company, WANA, which is an acronym for Where Awareness Nourishes Artistry, Marissa now helps creative leaders, artists, and visionary thinkers learn the practice of working and living in the moment. Welcome, Marissa.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me.
It's great to have this opportunity to catch up again.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me on today.
Let's start out with your current work and how it came into being. Was there a moment or a particular incident that caused you to realize that creative leaders needed more awareness? Or was it a process that evolved over the course of months or maybe even years?
It began when I was I was a semester away from graduating from college. And I was sitting at a table with my professors, and they asked me if I knew what I wanted to do. At the time, I was a dance major with a concentration in performance and choreography. And I answered no. And they replied saying, well, we think you've outgrown college and that you need to be in a professional environment. And they offered me a scholarship to the American Dance Festival, which, as a dancer, majoring in what I was, majoring in and focusing on, you would think that that would be something that I would jump on.
Pretty incredible opportunity.
It was a very incredible opportunity. And I didn't respond initially. I left the meeting. I went and I sat in my car. And I remember thinking, if I say yes to this, I'm doing it for them and not me. I did not accept the opportunity. And at that point, I set out on what I call my decade of discovery and following my curiosity, which led me to become a certified yoga teacher. I taught for a couple of years, always feeling like there was more. I went on and worked in the corporate world in the training and development department and left the corporate world when I realized it just was not where I needed to be. Ended up at the Burning Coal Theater, which you may be familiar with, helping out there and
right.
Just going, okay, I'm back. I'm back in my world around artists and the creatives. So from there, I ended up not long after discovering this program at Duke and got there. And that was it just changed everything. It was kind of the 2 years of my life. That's how long it took me to complete my studies there. That I was like, okay, it was all leading up to this. That was huge.
Wow.
I initially thought I was going to take that training and help families around nutrition. That's something I'm very passionate about, is food and real food. So I applied to grad school for integrative health and nutrition. I got in. And here I was again. I was like, I can't say yes to this. Like, what is going on? So I didn't. I just held off and was like, I'm going to pass on it now. And if, in a few months I change my mind, I'll just start. So I gave myself the space. And during that time, it all came together. And I was like, okay, I have this background and I've spent the majority of my life being a performing artist. And I also have this passion and interest and all these studies in mind-body practices. And I was like, they need to come together. And it just clicked one day and I was like, that's it. I need to take all that I have gathered and I need to nurture the artistic community. And then I wrote Where Awareness Nourishes Artistry. And that's where it started. And that was almost 4 years ago.
Wow. Was there a time through that process where you felt like you were a misfit, that everyone else seemed to be fitting in the right place but you?
Oh, yeah. A misfit, and just also, I always felt, it's interesting because I always felt very comfortable with where I was in my life. Not saying that it was always easy, right? But I knew I was working towards something, or there was just something more I needed to either learn or figure out before I could really just strike what I was meant to do.
Right.
But there were times, of course, I was like, people just must think I have no idea what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I really didn't know what I was doing, but I did. Do you know what I'm saying? I just knew I had to keep going, and I really had to follow my curiosity, and that it would lead me where I needed to go, and it did.
Right.
It did.
How's that impacted your interaction with other people through the years as you're working with them and some of their struggles with the same things?
Yeah, I think it's huge because sometimes We just need to know that somebody else has been through what we've been through,
right,
and that we don't have to always have it figured out. Very rarely do people really at a very young age know exactly what they want to do, and it can change and evolve, or, it's okay to be somebody who has a dance major and end up where I am today and who is a behavior change specialist, but I'm nurturing the artistic community, so I feel like that you can connect with people on a deep level.
As you've stated, you're dedicated to helping artists and creatives learn how to be in the moment so they can achieve self-guided creative expansion. A lot of people are going to hear that and it sounds real woo-woo, touchy-feely, internal stuff that doesn't sound very practical to getting work shipped out today. So in Street Talk, what is it that you help people do on a practical basis, and why is it important for creative leaders to understand its importance in their lives?
So I teach people how to be in the moment. And I do that so that they can sustain and actually reach their full creative expression. And the reason that it's very important is because as creatives, there's two things we need to do, right? Like we need to constantly create. I mean, it sounds a little silly, right? As creatives, we have to constantly create, but we do. And how do we stay tapped in? Like, how do we stay in that flow? How are we producing authentic work? Because when we produce authentic work, we reach our audience. And then how do we stay well through the process? I have found in my own experience and working with people that this is so important, because the more we cultivate presence, the more we're able to be in the moment, the more we're authentic, we're confident, we're focused, and we're listening. And when we're present, and as we become more and more focused, we learn how to manage extremely active imaginations, which most creative, highly creative and artistic people for sure have.
Right.
And we don't want to stifle the imagination. We want to redirect and focus it. So you're going to hear me say focus a lot, because we live in a time, like you said, that we are so distracted. This is why, just cultivating presence to me is becoming more and more and more important.
Right.
We also have to learn how to finesse the chaos. And I define chaos as, all the emotions and things that we experience in life and events that happen in life, right? Like it's not perfect. And it's
right.
And so we have to learn how to finesse that so that we're not going through life thinking it needs to be perfect, but we can handle it.
Right.
So that we don't stifle our creativity and we can stay in that flow and we can feed the creative process.
Yeah. So why is that practice so critical to learning to trust your intuition?
Oh, yeah. Well, when we're in the moment and we're present, one, we can listen to ourselves, and we can also maybe listen to our client, or we can just watch and see what's happening around us. And the reason this is so important is because we are all focused on, we want to connect the dots, right? So like when we think about creativity really is connecting the dots. And we want to do this and we want to know everything, but we're not connected within. And it doesn't work that way. You have to be connected to yourself and to your intuition. And the more that you can and live and function from that place, the easier it becomes to see how everything is connected around you. And this is when our creativity just goes through the roof. This is when innovation can happen. This is when our truth comes out. And this is when we can, we see new solutions to problems. We can be our most creative self.
I think about the times that I am most anxious, and again, talking with other people in business, is that this is not as much of an issue while they're creating as it is when they're in client meetings or having to talk about money or having to talk about legal matters or things that are outside of, I guess, their wheelhouse or the place they're comfortable being.